Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we have another full-size mechanical keyboard review for you guys. And as you can see from the title, it is the Corsair K70 Mark II with Cherry MX blue switches. So as you know already, we're not a big fan of the big brand mechanical keyboard companies such as Razer, Corsair, SteelSeries, and all those big guys. So we pretty much have a lot of not so great opinions about this keyboard, but it's not necessarily because of its branding, it's more because of all the features and issues that we have with it. There are some pretty good aspects of the keyboard though, so if this is something you're looking for, then it might be something that you'll actually buy. First of all, let's go look at the keyboard itself. On the front here, we have a huge, gigantic, large forehead, and the reason for this is because they wanted to add dedicated media keys to the keyboard. If you look here on the right, we do have that dedicated volume scroll wheel, and then we have an easy access mute button as well. So if you're gaming and you want to change the volume of your music or mute something if someone's talking to you, that's pretty easy to access. And then here under that, you also have your dedicated media keys right here. We have stop, previous track, pause play, and next track. And these buttons are relatively quiet to push too. And then in the middle, you have some very large, obtrusive Corsair branding. And above that, you can see that it has a large, thick, non-detachable cable here as well. And it does require 2 USB ports on your computer to work with these thick USB ports right here. And because you need 2, it also comes with USB pass-through, which is a convenient option for those wanting to connect their console controller, Xbox, PS4 controller, or whatever into their computer so you can play your Steam games or whatever you need, such as in putting in your memory card reader, connecting a mouse, headset, things like that. Sometimes USB pass-through can be pretty convenient. I personally don't care for it that much. On the left side here of the forehead, you see you have the lock button, and then you can change different profiles of the keyboard, and you have the brightness setting of the keys as well. Onto the legends. They are pretty gamer-oriented fonts. They're not exactly the most simple or the most clean, but if the font isn't something that's going to bother you, then let's just forget about it. It does come with these textured and contoured keycaps for gaming with a very interesting feel to it. It feels pretty smooth still, and after using it for gaming a little bit, I do like the way that they are contoured. So if you look closely, if you place your hand on it, you can see that the W sort of has that concavity, same with the F and the A, and then the S is fully flat, so you can feel what key you're on when you're just gaming and not really needing to look down either, and knowing that you're pressing the right buttons at the right time. And then the space bar is also textured in the same way, and the space bar is super rattly. Just the worst rattle you've ever heard on any space bar. This has Cherry MX blue switches, so it's probably already pretty loud, but this is the annoying kind of loud and not necessarily the crispy kind of loud. So here's a sneak preview of the stabilizers and the switches, and then full sound test at the end. Spacebar. And then the blue switches. So these switches themselves aren't all that bad at all. They are Cherry MX blues. Some keys can be slightly more pingy with that spring sound. And the worst part really is the stabilizers. They are very rattly, very shaky. Just they aren't satisfying to press, and they do ping quite a lot. They are cherry style stabilizers, so you can lube them and maybe that will make them better. Only slightly though, since they are pretty loud right now. With this software, it's called the iCue software. You can open it up and you can change different things such as the profiles, the colors, the macros, and different things like that. It has 8 megabytes of onboard memory and can store up to 3 different profiles of lights, macros, and shortcuts. And the keys really are designed for FPS games and MOBA games. Not necessarily MMORPGs, since you're pressing a lot of numbers when you're playing those games. It does come with a keycap puller for when you want to replace these back. The contoured keys that comes with it are Q, W, E, R, A, S, D, and F. And then I think you get an extra D and an extra A for some odd reason. They're pretty nice. They're weird to type with though. If you're typing with the textured keys, it just throws me off just a little bit since they're textured and I like all my keys sort of being the same. The other keycaps are ABS plastic. They're super smooth. They are double shot, so the RGB does shine through them. They're very thin keycaps, and Corsair has a non-standard bottom row with the Windows and Alt keys being smaller than usual and the control being larger than usual. Same thing on the other side. Non-standard bottom row, which means if you're changing your keycaps, you can't change up all of your keycaps, just all the other keys except the bottom row, which can look a little bit funky unless you're only changing out the alphanumeric keys. Then it looks less funky. But either way, that makes it pretty annoying to find a set of keycaps that would work with the keyboard. It's pretty slow to accumulate fingerprints though, which is sort of a good thing compared to other keyboards that I've used before, which accumulate that stuff really quickly and get shiny really quickly. The software is easy to use, it's programmable, pretty much everything is programmable. There are a ton of lighting presets and you can see them live on your keyboard and on the software while you're editing. Just remember to overwrite the keyboard profile to make sure that it's saved. It's a very bulky keyboard though. It's lightweight, but that's because it has primarily plastic in its build. It's just very large on the desk and not too convenient. And the branding is so large on the forehead. It's just not necessary. And to me, the legends are too square and too gamery. On the back, you'll see that it has 2 horizontal kickstands that are very short. It has a bunch of big rubber feet, 4 big rubber feet on the back, and then it does have some wire routing here, but not for this cable. It's to route things such as your headset or your mouse, since these little grooves fit pretty thin cables in general. You can see the K70 here for the branding. And it also comes with a detachable wrist rest that fits into the bottom grooves of the keyboard. It's not a padded wrist rest, it's just plastic and it's not really special in any way. For me, I had no reason to use it because it didn't really support my palm or anything in the right angle. It still caused wrist extension if I were to rest my hands on it anyways, and I hover while typing, so it's really not necessarily. I would prefer to use the wrist rest that I always use, which is the Glorious wrist rest, and I'll link that down below as well. It's padded and it's a little bit higher so that it matches with the height of the keyboard. And speaking of height, it does have some natural inclination, and that makes it pretty easy to use. There's a little bump right here, and the wrist rest just attaches to the bottom and rests right over it like that. So in my opinion, for this keyboard, it's just not worth it. There are other keyboards that sort of do the same thing with better features. Like for me, I would prefer to get the SteelSeries Apex 7 TKL over this keyboard, because that one comes with the dedicated media keys. It comes with a bunch of colors. The OLED screen lets you customize everything from the keyboard itself. And you can go into the software if you want, but you don't necessarily need to. This one, you definitely need to go into the software to get into some of those customizations with the lighting and things like that. And the build quality is just sort of sketchy. With the Apex 7 TKL, it just seems so much more solid of a build. You get a better wrist rest. This and that come very close in pricing at around $130, I believe. That's at the time when we purchased it, so prices can always change online. But that's just my personal opinion. I like the SteelSeries keyboard a lot better than this one. We'll link you to our in-depth review of that right here. And then it's time to look at the typing test of this keyboard with Cherry MX Blues. Alright, that was the typing test. It's pretty loud. I know, it is Cherry MX Blue, so you sort of expect it to be loud. But nowadays, gaming keyboards are moving towards the linear switches and the silent switches so that you're not bothering a ton of other people around you. And if you're streaming or talking to people on your headphones, they're not going to complain about the noise of your keyboard, since that gets really annoying really quickly. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I know it wasn't the most positive review, but we are straightforward and honest here after all, so that's that. I'm not gonna make excuses for the keyboard. It's alright, I would never use it. That's my personal opinion. It's too large, it's too bulky, it's not convenient, and the cord is just so thick and non-detachable, which is really annoying. I'm going to link you guys to our SteelSeries Apex 7 TKL mechanical keyboard review here. And then here's another video by us that you might like. Subscribe here if you want to, and I'll see you in the next video.